Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. Capital One could potentially merge with Discover and become the largest credit card company in the United States. Nevada voters found that their unvoted ballots were being counted. This is one of the most sensitive issues in the last few years. The Secretary of State immediately stepped in to investigate. Speaker Mike Johnson went to President Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago to celebrate President's Day with him. President Trump is estimated to get the Republican presidential nomination early, and his legal team is currently preparing to appeal the New York court ruling on the commercial fraud case. New York City is currently suffering from violence and crime caused by illegal immigrants. This is the poisonous fruit of the leftist policies. Republican governors are taking it upon themselves to figure out how to close the loophole for illegal immigrants. Guess how many years of training it takes for a child to become a chess master? The story we have today will surprise you. Okay, let's get into it. Capital One is buying Discover Financial in a deal worth $35.3 billion. This is one of the largest acquisitions in the U.S. financial sector since the 2008 financial crisis. Capital One CEO Richard Fairbank said that the partnership would bring together two of the large U.S. credit card companies to improve their technology and to expand their payment networks. Fairbank said, "Through this combination, we're creating a company that is exceptionally well-positioned to create significant value for consumers, small businesses, merchants, and shareholders as technology continues to transform the payments and banking marketplace." This comes after the passing of Protocol 20 on Tuesday. Upon completion of the transaction, First Capital shareholders will own 60% of the combined company, and Discover shareholders will own approximately 40%. The current purchase price represents a 26.6% premium to Discover's closing price on Friday. Under the terms of the transaction, Discover shareholders will receive 1.0192 shares of Capital One stock for every one share of Discover stock. According to Nielsen, Capital One is valued at $52.2 billion by transaction volumes as of 2022, ranking fourth in the U.S. credit card market, while Discover ranks sixth. However, the acquisition is likely to come under intense scrutiny from U.S. authorities because of the two companies' huge credit card businesses. Some Democrats have been opposing the bank merger, arguing that it would increase systemic risk. They have stepped up pressure on regulators to take a tougher stance on the deal. This weekend, many Nevada voters discovered that even though they did not participate in the February 6th presidential primary, their mail-in ballots were registered as counted. The problem was first discovered on Sunday when voters began noticing discrepancies in their voting records. On Monday, the Secretary of State's office immediately responded to these violations in voter history records. It said that the numerous voter irregularities found on Sunday were caused by an error that is now being fixed. A spokesperson for the Secretary of State's office told 8 News Now. Elections and IT staff began working on the issue immediately and met with county clerks and registrars this morning. "We are working to resolve the issues as soon as possible and will provide further updates as we can." According to the office, the problem was allegedly caused by some counties not following the correct procedures for updating voter registration data. The Secretary of State's office said in a statement, the issue was as follows. On a nightly basis, each county uploads their voter registration data to the Secretary of State's database, which executes code to create the single statewide voter registration file that users see when they log into vote.nv.gov. The legacy system used by a number of the counties require additional steps be taken to ensure that voters who did not return their ballot do not have vote history. Some of those steps were not taken, which resulted in inaccurate data. In another statement issued by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the office added that the office has been validating new files from each county and moving them into production as soon as the accuracy of the data is verified. The office promised that voter data would be updated within 48 hours and should be accurate. However, the office assured that the technical glitch did not affect the outcome of the primary election. If we take a look back at the results of the Nevada state-run primary earlier this month, we can see that on the Republican side, the option, none of these candidates secured the majority, beating Nikki Haley. This is because former President Donald Trump did not appear on the ballot. So President Trump ended up winning the Nevada state-run Republican caucus and the party-run primary. And on the Democratic side, President Biden won their primary. House Speaker Mike Johnson celebrated President's Day by visiting President Trump's private residence, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. They had a conversation about the 2024 election. After the meeting, the speaker shared a picture showing him and President Trump standing together and giving the thumbs up. Johnson wore a suit, while President Trump wore a casual red top and a red hat with the words "Make America Great Again" in white. I wonder if he was wearing gold sneakers. Johnson wrote, "Just had a great meeting with President Donald Trump this President's Day. Together we will grow the majority and save America." Johnson was joined by Representative Richard Hudson, the chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee, which is the Republican campaign arm of the House of Representatives. They were attending the annual retreat of the House Republican leadership in Florida. Nikki Haley has decided to stay in the presidential primary despite almost all polls showing that GOP voters overwhelmingly favor President Trump. She defended her decision in a speech in South Carolina where she told her audience that she heard the voice of the American people. Haley said at the speech on February 20th in Greenville, "Some of you, perhaps a few of you in the media, came here today to see if I'm dropping out of the race. Well, I'm not. Far from it, and I'm here to tell you why I'm running for president, because we have a country to save." Even though poll after poll shows President Trump beating her in almost every single state, including her home state, Nikki Haley seems indifferent to the numbers. She said, while emphasizing that she is not going anywhere, "South Carolina will vote on Saturday, but on Sunday I'll still be running for president." Carrie Eccles, who was one of the critics who called for Haley to drop out of the race, speculated that Haley's continued presence in the race was meant to draw as much money out of President Trump's campaign as possible. President Trump's team fired a preemptive strike against Nikki Haley in advance of her State of the Race speech on Tuesday afternoon. In a campaign memo titled "The End is Near" for Nikki Haley, the Trump team said that the former UN ambassador will suffer a humiliating loss in her home state of South Carolina's primary this Saturday. The Trump team's memo accuses Haley's team of refusing to face reality. The memo said, "If we were overly generous and applied a worst-case model reflecting Nikki Haley's loss in New Hampshire across the remaining states and congressional districts, President Trump would earn 114 delegates the week following the South Carolina primary." The Trump team predicted that President Trump would win at least 773 delegates on Super Tuesday, which is March 5th, and the memo reads President Trump would win an additional 162 delegates the following 2 weeks after Super Tuesday and on March 19th. Under this most generous model for Nikki, President Trump would win the Republican nomination for president. The Trump team stands by the fact that President Trump will lock in 1,223 delegates by March 12th. Before March Madness tips off next month, President Trump will be the Republican nominee for president, the memo said. Alina Habba, a lawyer for President Trump, said that President Trump will pay the nearly $400 million bond that is required to appeal the fraud ruling in New York City. She said during a Fox News interview on February 19th, "I can tell you what the rules are. Within 30 days, even if we choose to appeal, and we will, we have to post the bond, which is the full amount and then some. We will be prepared to do that." Analysts say that the appeal bond is equivalent to the $355 million judgment against President Trump by New York Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engoron. It will include 9% post-judgment interest. If President Trump loses his appeal, New York State will collect 9%, or about $30 million. Another Trump lawyer, Christopher Kise, said on the same day that the appeal will focus on the judge's definition of fraud. Kise said, "The case raises serious legal and constitutional questions regarding fraud claims, findings without any actual fraud." During the trial, President Trump called Judge Engoron extremely hostile and New York Attorney General Letitia James a political hack. Haba said during the Fox interview, "What they're trying to do between this case and my last case is put Trump out of business. It's not going to work, number one. Number two, what they're doing is a scare tactic. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong guy to pick on, in my opinion, because he's strong, he's resilient, and he happens to have a lot of cash." There was a popular video circulating online yesterday. The video shows illegal immigrants brazenly engaging in close combat with police in a taxpayer-funded shelter in New York City. The incident in the video took place at the Randall's Island shelter last Thursday. When police were called to the shelter at noon on Thursday, the shelter was in disarray and immigrants were yelling. Video of the chaos showed illegals throwing objects at police officers and violently attacking them. One female officer was hit in the head with a backpack. After a long period of close combat with the suspect, 3 or 4 officers finally combined their efforts to arrest the troublemaker wearing a white t-shirt. New York City is overrun with illegal immigrants. According to a survey that was conducted by New York City officials that was called the St. Bridget Overnight Count, nearly 1,000 refugees spent the night on the streets or in the subway last month. That is a 25% increase over the past year. It has long been feared that illegal immigrants from across the border will increase the number of New York street hobos. Recently, there have been frequent robberies, shootings, and assaults on police officers by immigrants on the streets. Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella recently called the current chaos in New York City the fruit of the poisonous tree. He was referring to the poisonous seeds that were planted by the left's border policy and by New York City's right to asylum law. The poisonous seeds are finally blossoming. Alejandro Mayorkas was impeached by the House on February 13th for refusing to enforce the nation's border laws. But Democrats and some pro-establishment Republican senators have hinted that they will ignore the House indictment and they will not try Mayorkas in the Senate. Senator Chuck Schumer has dismissed the impeachment. 13 Republican senators are urging GOP leader Senator Mitch McConnell to force the formal impeachment trial of Mayorkas. The GOP letter said, "A Senate decision to ignore the House's indictment is an action rarely contemplated and never taken by the U.S. Senate in the history of our republic." The letter also says it remains to be seen if the Senate rules will even allow us to brush aside our duty in the matter. But one thing is sure, if a similar strategy was contemplated by Senate Republicans, while we were in the majority with a Republican occupying the White House, the opposition would be fierce, the volume from Democrats would be deafening. Pro-immigration advocates, including Mayorkas, describe their policy as prosecutorial discretion. Yet the policy encourages illegal immigration by showing potential immigrants that they can get the U.S. jobs that they need to pay off their smuggling debts. The policy also provides a quasi-legal conveyor belt for business alliances of smugglers, drug cartels, and labor traffickers to send their clients into the United States and their paychecks back into foreign bank accounts. On February 20th, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem ordered the state's National Guard troops to deploy to the southern border in order to help Texas cope with the record-shattering flow of illegal immigration. Noem said that 60 South Dakota National Guard soldiers will be sent to the U.S.-Mexico border later this spring, gradually over 3 months. Noem stated, "The border is a war zone, so we're sending soldiers." The National Guard troops will assist with border wall construction to stop the flow of illegal immigration, drug cartels, and human trafficking into the United States. In fact, South Dakota was the first state to deploy National Guard troops in response to Governor Greg Abbott's call. Abbott called 2.5 years ago for help securing the border. The newly announced deployment will be South Dakota's 5th since Abbott issued the call. On the same day, Abbott wrote on X, "Texas, with the support of America's governors, will fight to do the job Biden refuses to do." He noted that the U.S. Constitution gives states the right to secure their borders against invasion. Back in September, Abbott declared an invasion at the southern border following the surge in illegal immigration. It's estimated that over 10 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border since Joe Biden took office. On Sunday, an 8-year-old boy of Indian origin, Oshw Kosik, made history. He defeated 37-year-old Polish Grandmaster Jacek Stopa. In the 4th round of the Chess Open in Switzerland, he became the youngest player to defeat a Grandmaster. The chess world is full of young geniuses these days. Last month, 9-year-old Leonid Ivankovich set a world record as the first player under the age of 9 to defeat a chess grandmaster in a tournament. However, Kosik was 5 months younger than Ivankovich when he beat the grandmaster, thus breaking Ivankovich's age record. Kosik was born in India in 2015, and he rose to fame in 2022 when he won 3 gold medals at the East Asian Youth Championships in the underage category. He was just over 6 years old at the time. One of the notable achievements was becoming the under-8 rapid chess champion in 2022. It was then that his father realized his great talent. Neither of his parents played chess, but Kosik learned the rules of chess at the age of 4, and he played with his grandparents. His father says that he has been following his son's progress with excitement and amazement now. It's like a dream with new discoveries every day. Now Kosik spends 7 hours a day playing chess, and he has solved thousands of puzzles on his old chess program. He has a photographic memory, according to his father. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you, but please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. We've also heard that many of you don't get notifications of our videos anymore on YouTube. So when you do subscribe, please make sure to tap the notification bell as well. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.